today is going to be a little bit of a different day. I don't have a script planned, I don't have a necessary idea of what I want to do, but I know that I definitely want to talk about characters again. And this time I do want to get a little bit more in detail of what I mean, and so I'm going to be using this page, which is page 3 of EI, as reference. I'm not going to get into too much detail as to what's going on because, I mean, right now, if you don't know the context, which nobody does because this is just a brand new comic, then it really wouldn't make a difference to you or to me if I explain everything that's going on in the story. But what I do want to explain is the effects that certain feelings can have onto characters later on. So this is something that I noticed that doesn't get talked about too much in, I'd say maybe popular media. So for example, let's say this character here just woke up. He is going through something that has never happened to him before, and suddenly the people that he's supposed to trust aren't on the same page as he is. So now there's this feeling of betrayal. Now, what these kinds of feelings can harbor on is resentment, is feelings of isolation, misunderstanding, of betrayal is a huge part of that. And whether this could be like a familial a familiar that caused these feelings matters a lot, because then that will create trust issues in the future for your character. So let's say Shay over here just wakes up and realizes that his entire room has been completely wiped. There is nothing there. He is completely isolated in this white blank room. Now, your first impressions would be, what is going on here? Where am I? Those are your first thoughts. And then to realize that this was done by somebody that you care about, you'd be confused. But they're telling you that they're trying to help you. You are in this brand new state of confusion. You're scared, and no one wants to give you any answers. What is your next alternative? Do you feel comfortable enough to calm down and let them talk to you? Or do you want to abscond? So from this point onward, we're going to be seeing the perspective of a character who has chosen to stay in the situation. And that's kind of the core root with EI, where it's a lot of complacency and feelings of resentment, isolation, lack of understanding, and how these can manipulate characters. It can make them feel distanced. It can make them feel things that they did not have the kind of wording for. Or even people of today don't exactly have that kind of wording either. And when we kind of ignore these feelings, they just keep growing and growing until they eventually become that a pop. There is a pop. Either you're holding it all together or you're trying to cap it off. There's going to be some spillage. And when that spillage eventually seeps out, how do you return back to the state before? Now, those are kind of questions that we like to tackle in EI, and right now it's infancy. It's only on chapter 3, but I hope that more people are kind of like asking these kinds of questions, because whether it's our characters or somebody else, whether it's you or me, these are still questions of emotions that need to be discussed, observed, understood, and then protected, because feelings are they're a warning system for you and for your body. So they're not something that's meant to be discounted or resented, because feelings are beautiful. Any experience you have, I'm not talking about the bad ones, because those are not good just by definition, but feelings that have left some kind of strength in you, that have helped you develop into a stronger person than yesterday are the kinds of feelings that I want to observe and kind of nurture in people through this story. And so the characters in the story, particularly Shay, is a blank slate. So we're going to be seeing a lot of conflicting, unclear emotions that he'll go through because if nobody's giving you any answers and you have to find them yourself, what is your point of reference? And that's kind of something that, unintentionally, as we've written, we also see reflected in societies today. And it's not even just like of a group of people, it's just of the individual who lacks understanding. And that's not an insult either, because if you have not been given that kind of information, then who am I to blame you over something you did not have access to? And that's another kind of like way that I think more people should kind of come at it, where instead of getting angry, we just sit back, we just take a deep breath. The anger does not let you think. It is a reaction to something that is triggering a fight or flight response, but that's not the solution to your anger. Your anger is a trigger, and we need to listen to that trigger in order to stop it from happening again in the future. Because anger is not a response that we want to cultivate. We want to observe it and learn from it, but not engage with it necessarily. You want to engage with the thing that's causing the trigger, but you want to do it at a safe, uh, it's tough to say distance as well, because you need to be safe. That's the most important thing, is your safety in order for you to safely grow and mature. And let's say that these two characters here, these are Shay's direct scientists or roboticists that have built him, they don't understand where he's coming from. Now, if you're him who just woke up and the people that are supposed to protect you have literally skinned you, like opened your insides, and they're telling you, oh no, this is good for you, that's not helping me because I don't know what is going on. You could be telling me that this is going to give me 1,000 years in the future, but that doesn't make this current experience any less horrifying for me. And that's the kind of perspective that more people need to see, is not, oh, the result of it, but it's the immediate feeling of you going through it. Yeah, sure, feelings heal, pain heals, but resentment can linger if not processed. And that's kind of where all this built up aggression then later comes from, because we were never able to observe and understand why we feel this way. We just kind of take that feeling and then throw it somewhere else, or we put it aside and we want to forget about it, but by forgetting it, you're just cramming more shit into it, and you're saying it's okay, I'm just not gonna look at it, it's gonna be okay. But then that dust bunny, he's gonna keep growing, your lint, all, you just don't take care of it now while it's still fresh. Now the other problem is how to handle people that have hurt you. And I'm not even going to discuss the levels of hurt, because there's all sorts of levels, and for everybody it varies significantly. So it's also like ignorant of me to kind of assume what you felt, because I can only feel for myself. Um, so in the case of your guardians, who seemingly, let's say to Shay's perspective, they're scaring you, so that's going to leave a a rough memory in your head, that's going to create a little snapshot of something that left a very strong emotional response in you. So it's like you're tattooing this thing into your brain, essentially, until you come back to it and understand why it hurt you, and it can no longer hurt me now. Because what happened then was truth. It did happen. There's no denying that it happened. And even your feelings are not denial, because we're not denying that it hurt you. What we are trying to do is help you see that your feelings right now are coming from a place of lack of understanding, but it's not as an insult. It's because you weren't given the piece of information that would help you kind of not see it from the perspective of the person who hurt you, because that is no excuse, but from the perspective of how to overcome that struggle or that fear that is currently holding you back. So, if you have a treatment that is done to you and it was not under your consent or you were not made aware of it, that will leave a sense of betrayal, mistrust, and fear. And until that is then cleared up, like those feelings are cleared, then you cannot properly move on, because it's going to stay as this little unchecked trigger point, kind of like a blueprint of the muscle. And it's like when you accumulate a lot of knots, because when you move your muscles, you start to, you accumulate acrylic lactic acid, I believe, and then it just kind of becomes this little knot, and then it grows and grows and grows until it becomes this uncomfortable pain. And if you just keep working and you don't treat the source of the pain, who knows what it could do to you? You could, I'm not going to say the worst, but you would not be functioning at your regular state anymore. You would be at this kind of altered state of yourself. And people may start to worry for you, but of course, that's like either it's adding to your worries now that there's other people involved and you didn't want it to get that big, or that's the last thing on your mind because you're too worried about what's currently going on with you. And all of these are very valid feelings, because you're just you are, and that is the only thing you could be. How you take that is literally a butterfly effect of options, because any option you take will create a seed for your future. The future that does not exist will be cultivated by your actions in the present. And your actions in the present were determined based on your current understandings of your actions from the past. So if you are not aware of your actions of the past, you will continue to repeat past mistakes because it just feels comfortable and you'll call it fate. But you need to see how your actions are leading you down a certain path. What are they doing for you? How are they benefiting you? What changes could you make that will benefit you more? Because we're never here to stay in the same place. We do need to keep learning and improving in order for us to reach a cohesive comfortability with each other, because we are all many of the same. So with our feelings, at least those of us who do have that can feel, that have access to it's like emotional responses, that can understand it, it's a difficult, tricky, bumpy ride. And it feels nonsensical, but you know what feels good. And when you know what feels good, as long as it doesn't harm, then that's really the best kind of life you could try to lead for yourself. Because when you help yourself, you do inevitably help others, whether you realize it or not. Because like everything that you learn on how you helped yourself through tough situations could be helpful advice for somebody that is going through something that you're going through, and that can help them get out of that faster, and then they will want to talk to you later. Maybe they won't want a relationship with you, like a pleasant one, or maybe they'll be able to help somebody else that's going through what you went through. So it's just this web of, again, this butterfly effect of possibilities. Every single choice leads to a different action. It does create this cascading effect of effects. And that is just, I find, the most beautiful way of showing that we are interconnected. And through Shay, I feel like we can kind of get to see more of these slow, intricate feelings that I don't see getting discussed in popular media. Of course, there's millions, millions, and millions of like undiscovered works that are probably done what I'm doing and more. But I want to take this from a perspective of something that only me and Alexis can create, because everybody that creates a piece of art, it is coming from a place that only they have access to. And when more people collaborate, then you can form a new cohesive narrative, or you create something that you couldn't even imagine, because that's exactly what I'm going through. The way that EI was originally written would not be as intensive and as, how do I call it, thoughtful and careful as it is now. Because when, like as I said in my last video, I'm not the kind of, I wasn't the kind of person who knew how to write situations. I didn't know how to write dramatic effect, dramatic storytelling. I was much better at keeping characters consistent with themselves, on keeping characters in line with their personalities, of describing their personalities. I was good at making connections of dramatic storytelling to personalities, but I was not good at creating the dramatic irony itself. And that's where Alexis came in, who she is a wealth of knowledge of movies and books and animations. So she loves to see the good things, which actually that's one thing I do want to mention. She's able to see the really good things, and then she brings that into our works because she's able to make those connections of, hey, this reminds me of this, we can do something like that. And then I will work that idea into our story, so then it makes sense in the world and within the characters. So I'm here to kind of keep the world organized while Alexis throws out her creative sparks, and then we just work together to make sure that it's good. And that kind of partnership is just beautiful, and seeing like other indie developers create like their own little empires when it comes from this place of authenticity is just so inspiring, that it's helped me kind of come out of the shell and wanting to talk more about why I think a lot of people will benefit from reading our story. And I do say this from a very deep place, that I hope a lot of people will one day just come around and see that we are so much more than we give ourselves credit to. Credit? Oh, I don't know how to say it, but we're so much more than we can ever give ourselves credit for. And I've come from, this last year has just been an incredible change for me, where I was coming from this place of like everything had to come from my hands, where I put so much pressure on myself, and I wanted everything to be made only by me, otherwise it wouldn't really be coming from me. I don't know how to properly explain it. It would just, it felt like if I did not break my back, neck, and bones trying to bleed everything I could into the story, which actually did give me like an issue where I had like tendinitis, and I had to get an EMG, and I got like a cortisone injection. Terrible feeling. But it's because I felt like I needed to suffer in order to produce art. And that was a disaster, because I could have lost the ability to produce that art because I was forcing it. And that could possibly be the topic of the next video, because I don't want to add too much. I do want to kind of keep a nice little flow to what I talk about, because I know I can get a little disjointed and I can jump around, but I felt like I needed to say everything I needed to today. And oh my god, 333, that's perfect. But just to kind of finish off with today, is that I am very proud of what Alexis and I have made so far, of the people that we've met, the community that we're growing, not only on Twitch, but on our little Discord server, which, if you're interested, I really do recommend joining in, because we do have a lot of great stuff planned for the future, and of ways that we can bring people together. And I know that it's coming a lot from somebody that just started a YouTube channel, but it's something we've been wanting to do for years, and it's only until I've made this huge mind shift that I feel ready to take on this adventure with the world, with anybody that'll, you know, listen. So I hope to see you in the next one. It's always, I'm just so emotional that anybody would give this a time of day, and for that I have nothing less but to give you the biggest wishes for the rest of your good year, the rest of your good day, the rest of your good life. I just wish nothing but the best for anybody who's out here watching, and that I hope we can